I'm Leo, 32 years old, and I never thought I'd be raising my sister's 2 kids while working as a financial advisor. But when Madison, 7, and Tyler, 5, were in the back seat of my car during that terrible accident, everything changed. I texted my family immediately. We're safe but stranded. Hours passed. No response. Just the 3 of us shivering in the rain by my totaled car. Then I saw it. My sister Amanda's Facebook post. Road trip. With the best family ever. My heart sank. Before I tell you how everything fell apart, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button if you've ever felt abandoned by the people who should have had your back. I never planned on becoming a parent at 32. My life was on track. I had a promising career as a financial advisor at Sterling & Burke, a downtown office with glass windows and views of the city skyline. I had my own apartment savings growing steadily and weekends free to watch football or go hiking. That all changed 2 years ago when my sister Amanda and her husband Kyle spiraled deep into addiction. Our family had always been close, or at least I thought we were. My parents, Richard and Donna, raised 4 of us in a suburban home with Sunday dinners and holiday traditions. Amanda was the youngest, always the wild one, but charming enough to get away with it. Jessica and Mark, my other siblings, followed more conventional paths like me, college careers, relationships. We weren't perfect, but we functioned. We showed up for each other. When Amanda married Kyle 6 years ago, nobody saw the red flags. He was charismatic, had a good job in sales, and seemed to adore her. The changes happened gradually. First, they started missing family events. Then came the unexplained money problems despite their dual incomes. Amanda lost weight, developed dark circles under her eyes. Kyle became paranoid, accusatory. I'll never forget the night the police called me instead of my parents. Madison and Tyler had been found alone in an apartment with no electricity, the refrigerator empty, while Amanda and Kyle had been gone for 3 days. The children were hungry, confused, and terrified. My parents were in their 60s, dealing with my dad's heart condition and living on a fixed income in a 1-bedroom condo. Jessica had 3 kids of her own and a husband frequently deployed overseas. Mark lived across the country. I was the only one with the space, resources, and flexibility to step up. It's just temporary, everyone said. Just until Amanda gets clean. I moved the kids into my 1-bedroom apartment, giving them the bedroom while I slept on a pull-out couch. I transferred to a lower-paying position with flexible hours so I could handle school pickups and doctor appointments. My savings account dwindled as I bought bunk beds, clothes, school supplies, and covered therapy sessions for 2 traumatized children. Madison had nightmares for months. Tyler developed separation anxiety so severe that his kindergarten teacher called me weekly with concerns. Every night I sat between their beds reading stories until they fell asleep, assuring them they were safe now. My parents initially helped with occasional babysitting and Sunday meals. They bought Christmas presents and called to check in. But as months passed, their support faded. My father started making comments about my parenting choices, criticizing everything from the children's diets to their bedtimes. My mother constantly reminded me that Amanda was working on herself and would be back on her feet soon. What they meant became clear at a family dinner 6 months ago. Amanda had entered rehab for the 3rd time, and Kyle was supposedly seeking employment. My parents had started driving 3 hours every weekend to visit Amanda, bringing her groceries and paying her phone bill. She needs our support more than ever, my mother insisted, while I sat there calculating how I would cover Tyler's asthma medication that month. Jessica and Mark began echoing my parents' sentiments in family group texts. Amanda's really trying this time, they'd say. We need to rally around her. Meanwhile, invitations to family gatherings became scarce. When I did receive them, they often came with conditions. Can you leave the kids with someone? Amanda will be there, and seeing them might be too emotional for her right now. The family dynamic had shifted dramatically. Somehow in their eyes I had become the stable, self-sufficient one who didn't need support, while Amanda, despite her continued destructive behavior, was fragile and deserving of endless chances and resources. The fact that I was raising her abandoned children seemed to register less and less in their minds. My old sedan became my lifeline. It wasn't much, a 12-year-old Toyota with fading paint and a temperamental air conditioner, but it got us to school, to my job, to grocery stores and doctor appointments. I couldn't afford childcare during school breaks, so the kids came with me everywhere. The backseat became their mobile playroom, filled with books, toys, and snacks. "Uncle Leo, why don't we go to Grandma's house anymore?" Madison asked one night as I tucked her in. "Grandma and Grandpa are very busy helping your mom get better." I answered the simplified version of a complicated truth. "Will Mom come back soon?" Tyler asked, his small voice hopeful. "I don't know, buddy, but you're safe here with me no matter what." 2 weeks before the accident, we had our last family dinner at my parents' condo. Amanda showed up unexpectedly, claiming 90 days sober, though her dilated pupils suggested otherwise. Kyle wasn't with her, but she wore the diamond bracelet he'd supposedly pawned months ago. Throughout dinner, my parents fawned over her, serving her first, complimenting her appearance. Madison and Tyler sat silently, their discomfort palpable as they barely recognized the thin, jittery woman who was their mother. "Leo, have you been teaching Madison proper table manners?" my father criticized when she reached for a roll. "Tyler needs a haircut," my mother added. "People will think you're neglecting them." Later, as the kids played in the next room, I overheard Amanda asking my parents for money, just $200 for apartment deposits. They opened their wallets without question. When I mentioned needing to replace my car's bald tires soon, the silence was deafening. "Public transportation is always an option," my father finally said. "Plenty of people make do without cars." I drove home that night with a knot in my stomach, the children asleep in the back seat, unaware that their safety net was fraying, that the family they belonged to was choosing sides, and somehow we weren't on the winning one. The day of the accident started like any other Thursday. Morning rush to get the kids dressed, fed, and out the door. Madison forgot her science project, so we had to turn around halfway to school. Tyler spilled juice on his shirt, requiring a quick change. I dropped them off with seconds to spare before the bell, then battled traffic to make my 9 o'clock client meeting. Rain had been falling steadily since dawn, one of those autumn downpours that turns streets into shallow rivers and transforms windshield wipers into useless rubber sticks. By afternoon pickup, the storm had intensified. The school parking lot was chaos. Cars double parked, children darting between vehicles, harried parents honking. Madison climbed into the back seat, rain-soaked, despite her unicorn umbrella. "Miss Patterson said my project was the best in class," she announced proudly, showing me a paper with a gold star. Tyler followed, splashing through a puddle despite my warnings. "Can we have hot chocolate when we get home?" he asked, his sneakers squelching as he settled next to his sister. "Absolutely," I promised, checking their seatbelts before pulling into the line of cars exiting the school grounds. We were halfway home, stopped at a red light on Highway 16 near Pine Street when it happened. I was listening to Madison explain the difference between cumulus and cirrus clouds when a flash of headlights appeared in my peripheral vision. Too fast, too close. I had just enough time to shout, "Hold on," before the impact. The sickening crunch of metal. The jolt that snapped my head forward, then back. The airbag deploying with a force that knocked the wind from my lungs. The children's screams from the back seat. Time fragmented into disconnected moments. Turning to see Madison and Tyler, their eyes wide with terror but both conscious and moving. Rain pouring through my now shattered driver's side window. The smell of burnt rubber and something electrical. Steam rising from the crumpled hood. "Are you hurt? Can you move?" I asked the kids, my voice sounding strange and distant even to my own ears. "My arm hurts," Madison whimpered. Tyler was crying too hard to speak. I forced my door open against the damaged frame and stumbled out into the rain. The other vehicle, a blue pickup truck, had hit us directly on the passenger side, crushing the entire right portion of my car. The truck's driver was slumped over his wheel. A woman from a nearby car ran over. "I called 911, she shouted over the rain. That guy blew right through the red light. I saw the whole thing. I reached into the back seat for the kids, helping them out one at a time. Madison's right arm was already swelling, and Tyler had a cut on his forehead. We huddled under the inadequate shelter of a nearby bus stop, all three of us soaking wet, the children shivering against me. The police arrived first, then an ambulance. The other driver was indeed drunk, almost 3 times over the legal limit at 4 in the afternoon. The paramedics examined the children, determining that Madison had a sprained wrist and Tyler needed 2 butterfly bandages for his cut. Nothing serious, but they were thoroughly shaken. My car was destroyed. The entire passenger side was caved in the front axle, broken glass everywhere. The tow truck driver didn't mince words. "This one's headed for the junkyard, sir." With the medical checks complete and police report filed, the officers and paramedics departed, leaving us standing in the rain beside the tow truck driver. "Where can I take you folks?" he asked, clearly concerned about the two shivering children. I pulled out my phone and texted my parents first. "Car totaled in accident. We're all safe but stranded at Highway 16 in Pine. Can anyone pick us up?" Then Jessica, emergency. "Need help. Can you come get us? Accident with the kids." Then Mark, though he lived out of state, he might know someone closer who could help. Car accident with kids. "We're okay but need a ride home urgently." "My family will come get us," I assured the tow truck driver. "They don't live far." He looked doubtful but had other calls to make. Before leaving, he pointed across the street. "There's a diner over there. Might be better than standing in this rain." We made our way to Sonny's Diner, three bedraggled figures dripping water onto the checkered floor. The waitress, an older woman, with kind eyes and gray hair escaping her hairnet, took one look at us and led us to a booth. "Coffee for you, hot chocolate for the little ones," she offered. "On the house." I checked my phone obsessively while the kids sipped their hot chocolate. 15 minutes. 30 minutes. An hour. No responses. I called my parents. Straight to voicemail. I called Jessica. Same result. I even tried Amanda, though I knew it was a long shot. "Uncle Leo, when are we going home?" Tyler asked, his bandaged forehead making him look even smaller and more vulnerable. "Soon, buddy. Grandma and Grandpa are probably just busy." The waitress, whose name tag read Darlene, brought coloring pages and crayons for the kids. "Take your time," she said quietly. "Looks like you folks have had a rough day." 2 hours passed. I'd sent multiple follow-up texts, each more urgent than the last. The kids had moved from fear to boredom to exhaustion. Madison's wrist was visibly swollen despite the ice pack Darlene had provided. Tyler had fallen asleep with his head on the table. Finally, I faced reality. No one was coming. I checked my bank account on my phone. The week's grocery money would have to become Uber money. I ordered the ride, feeling sick at spending $60 we couldn't spare, but seeing no alternative. "My family had an emergency," I explained to Darlene as we prepared to leave. "Our ride is coming now." Her expression told me she understood the real situation perfectly. "You take care of those babies," she said, pressing a bag with 2 slices of pie into my hands. For later, the Uber driver helped me carry Tyler, now fully asleep, to the car. Madison followed, clutching her injured arm against her chest, her earlier excitement about the science project long forgotten. At home, I tucked the exhausted children into bed, Tyler not even waking as I removed his damp shoes and socks. Madison looked up at me with eyes too serious for a 7-year-old. "They're not coming, are they?" she asked. "Who's sweetie?" "Grandma and Grandpa. Mom. Anybody." I smoothed her hair back from her forehead. "We don't need them. We have each other." She nodded solemnly and closed her eyes. I sat on the edge of the bathtub afterward, finally allowing myself to feel the soreness spreading across my chest from the airbag impact. I checked my phone one last time before bed, still nothing from my family. Had they not received my messages? Were they truly unable to respond to an emergency involving their grandchildren? I couldn't make sense of it. Despite our recent tensions, I never imagined they would simply ignore us in a moment of genuine need. Something wasn't adding up, and exhaustion was making it hard to think clearly. Tomorrow I'd have to figure out transportation insurance claims and how to get Madison's wrist properly examined. For now, sleep was the only solution I could manage. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the crunch of metal, saw the terrified faces of the children. My ribs ached from the seatbelt, and worry about tomorrow kept my mind racing. Around midnight, I grabbed my phone to check for any delayed responses from my family. Still nothing. Out of habit, I opened Facebook mindlessly, scrolling as a distraction. That's when I saw it. A post from my sister Amanda, timestamped 8 p.m., just 2 hours after my desperate texts for help. Road trip with the best family ever, blessed family time. The photo showed Amanda looking healthier than she had in months, sitting between our parents on a beach house deck, drinks in hand, sunset in the background. Jessica and her husband were there too, along with Mark, who had apparently flown in. Even Kyle was present, his arm around Amanda's shoulders. My hand started shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. This wasn't a case of missed messages or dead batteries. They had deliberately ignored our emergency because they were on vacation together, a vacation I knew nothing about with the sister who had abandoned her children. I tapped on my mother's profile next. Her latest post showed the same group around a dinner table, so proud of Amanda's progress. Family healing weekend. Nothing matters more than supporting each other through tough times. Jessica had commented exactly nothing more important than being there for family when they're struggling. The irony was so painful it felt physical. I sank to the floor beside my pull-out couch phone still in hand, trying to process the betrayal. While Madison, Tyler, and I had stood in the rain beside a totaled car, our entire family was together at a beach house celebrating Amanda's latest recovery attempt. They had seen my texts. They had chosen not to respond. I checked the location tags on the photos. The beach house was only 45 minutes from where we had been stranded. Less than an hour away, my entire family was laughing, drinking, and posting about the importance of supporting loved ones through difficult times. Sleep was impossible now. I sat at the kitchen table until dawn, making lists, calculating bus routes, researching insurance claims. Without a car, getting the kids to school and myself to work would require waking up at 4:30 to catch the first bus at 5:15. We would need to transfer twice. On a good day, the commute would take 90 minutes each way. My boss had already warned me about tardiness last month when Tyler had an asthma attack before school. Without reliable transportation, my job security was at risk. Without my job, the children would have nothing. When Madison and Tyler woke up, I had forced a cheerfulness into my voice that I didn't feel. "We're going on an adventure today," I told them over breakfast. "We get to ride the city bus." "Where's your car?" Uncle Leo, Tyler asked, touching the bandage on his forehead. "Remember the accident yesterday? Our car got too hurt to drive anymore. But that's okay, we can take the bus until we get a new one." "Did you ask Grandma and Grandpa for help?" Madison asked, her injured wrist now properly wrapped in an ace bandage I'd found in the bathroom cabinet. The innocent question pierced me. "Grandma and Grandpa are away right now," I said carefully. "They took a trip to the beach." With Mom, Madison's expression revealed she already knew the answer. I nodded, unable to lie to her directly. "Yes, with your mom. But not with us," she concluded, her 7-year-old mind grasping the situation with painful clarity. "We're having our own adventure," I said, forcing enthusiasm into my voice. "Now let's get ready, or we'll miss our bus." That first morning was chaos. We left 30 minutes early, but I hadn't accounted for Tyler's slower walking pace with his little legs. We missed the first bus by 2 minutes. The second bus was late. By the time we reached the school, the bell had already rung. Both children were marked tardy, adding to my guilt. My workplace was another 12 blocks and a transfer from the school. I arrived 45 minutes late, earning a disapproving look from my supervisor, Barbara. "Family emergency," I explained briefly. Again, she replied, her tone making it clear that my personal problems were becoming a professional liability. Throughout that day, I kept checking my phone, still half expecting some explanation from my family. Perhaps they'd left their phones behind for this healing weekend. Perhaps there was some misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew. The timestamps on those social media posts told the truth. They had received my desperate messages and chosen to ignore them. That evening, the return journey was even more complicated. Rain continued to fall. The bus was crowded with commuters. Madison and Tyler were exhausted and hungry by the time we finally reached our stop, still 6 blocks from our apartment. "I can't walk anymore," Tyler whined, his face pale with fatigue. I ended up carrying him those 6 blocks while Madison trudged beside me, neither of us having the energy for conversation. At home, I made the simplest dinner possible, pasta with butter and cheese, and helped the children with homework. After they went to bed, I finally allowed myself to check social media again. More photos had appeared. My family at a restaurant, plates piled high with seafood. My father, who had claimed cardiac dietary restrictions when declining my dinner invitations, was eating a massive plate of fried shrimp. Jessica's children, the cousins Madison and Tyler rarely got to see anymore, were building sandcastles. My mother was teaching Amanda to make her famous clam chowder in the beach house kitchen. The captions were what hurt the most. "Family is everything," my father had written. "So blessed to have such a supportive family," Amanda posted. "Blood is thicker than water," from Jessica. I closed the apps and stared at the ceiling. The family portrayed in those photos bore no resemblance to the one that had abandoned us at the roadside. In their narrative, they were loving, supportive, and devoted to each other. In my reality, they had left 2 injured children stranded in the rain without a second thought. The disconnect was so complete, so baffling, that it left me questioning my own perceptions. Had I somehow deserved this treatment? Had raising Amanda's children somehow made me less worthy of the family's concern rather than more? I fell asleep still searching for an explanation that wouldn't shatter my understanding of the people I had trusted all my life. The next 4 weeks were the hardest of my life. Without a car, every aspect of our routine became a logistical nightmare. Our morning alarm moved from 6 a.m. to 4:30. Breakfast became portable granola bars and bananas, eaten at bus stops. I kept a thermos of coffee in my backpack just to stay functional. The financial impact was immediate and severe. Bus passes for the 3 of us cost almost $200, monthly money we didn't have to spare. Grocery shopping became another challenge. Without a car, we were limited to what I could carry while also holding Tyler's hand and shepherding Madison through crowded sidewalks. I started paying delivery fees for essentials, another expense we couldn't afford. The weather turned colder. Waiting at bus stops in 40-degree rain meant all 3 of us battled constant colds. Tyler's asthma flared up, requiring an emergency clinic visit that cost $300 because it was after hours. My performance at work suffered. Despite waking before dawn, I was frequently late. Client meetings had to be rescheduled around bus timetables. Barbara called me into her office after 2 weeks. "Leo, your work has always been excellent, but lately..." She let the sentence hang, gesturing at the stack of incomplete files on her desk. "I'm sorry," I said, hearing the fatigue in my voice. "My car was totaled and I'm still figuring out transportation." "Can't family help? Surely someone can give you a ride occasionally." I didn't know how to explain that my family was pretending I didn't exist. "It's complicated," I said instead. "Well, uncomplicate it," she advised. "Your job depends on it." The children's activities became casualties of our new reality. Madison had to drop out of her beloved after-school art program because I couldn't get there in time to pick her up. Tyler's weekly playdate with his best friend Lucas became impossible because Lucas lived across town. "When will we get a new car?" Uncle Leo became their daily question. "I'm working on it," was my stock answer, though. In reality, every car loan application came back denied. My debt-to-income ratio was too high. After taking on 2 dependents. The insurance settlement for my old car covered only $4,000, nowhere near enough for even a reliable used vehicle. Throughout all this, my family maintained complete radio silence. The beach trip ended according to their social media, but no one called to check on us. No one offered help. It was as if Madison, Tyler, and I had simply ceased to exist in their world. I made one attempt to reach out, swallowing my pride, to text my father. "The kids and I are really struggling without a car. Any chance of a weekend ride to the grocery store?" His response came hours later. "Too busy this weekend. You should look into one of those grocery delivery services." Jessica was no better when I asked if she could pick Madison up from school one day when I had a crucial client meeting. "You should really get a more reliable car, Leo. I'm juggling my own kids' schedules." Mark suggested I just take out a loan, as if I hadn't tried that avenue repeatedly. When I explained the loan rejections, he went silent. In desperation, I finally sent a direct message to my parents. "I hate to ask, but is there any way you could lend me $2,000 toward a used car I can repay you monthly?" That message was read but never answered. The only bright spot in this dismal period was Carl, a bus driver on our morning route. After seeing us at his stop every day, he started holding the bus an extra minute if we were running late. He saved seats at the front for the kids on crowded mornings and occasionally snuck them peppermints from his lunch bag. "You're doing a good job with those two," he told me one morning as the children counted peppermints in their seats. "Not everyone would step up like you have." His simple acknowledgement nearly brought me to tears. In a month where my own family couldn't be bothered to answer an emergency text, this stranger had noticed our struggle and offered what kindness he could. The breaking point came one Saturday at the playground. I had taken the kids there to burn off energy Madison's wrist, having finally healed enough for monkey bars. As I sat on a bench watching them play, Madison approached a group of children around her age. From their animated conversation, I gathered they were discussing weekend plans. "My grandparents are taking me to the aquarium tomorrow," one little boy announced. "We're going to my grandma's for Sunday dinner," another child added. "She makes the best cookies." Madison stood silently at the edge of the group. When she returned to the bench, her expression was carefully blank. "Uncle Leo," she said quietly, "why don't Grandma and Grandpa want to see us anymore? Did we do something bad?" The question cut deeper than any of the adult betrayals. I pulled her close, searching for words that would protect her from the truth without being an outright lie. "Sometimes grown-ups make choices that don't make sense," I finally said. "But it's never ever because of anything you or Tyler did wrong. You two are perfect exactly as you are." "But they're seeing Mom, right? I saw the pictures on your phone." Nothing escaped her notice. "Yes, they're spending time with your mom right now." "Because she's sick?" Madison asked. "In a way, yes." Madison considered this. "But we're not sick, so they don't need to help us." The devastating logic of a 7-year-old. "We're doing just fine on our own, aren't we?" I said, trying to sound confident. She nodded, but her eyes told a different story. That night I heard her explaining to Tyler in their bedroom, "Grandma and Grandpa are busy helping Mom because she's sick. We're not sick, so we don't need help." Tyler accepted this with the simple trust of a 5-year-old, but I lay awake until dawn, a slow-burning resentment building in my chest. My family hadn't just abandoned me, they had abandoned 2 innocent children who deserved so much better. As the 1-month mark since the accident approached, I found myself marking it on our kitchen calendar. 30 days of struggle. 30 days of silence from the people who should have been our safety net. 30 days of Madison and Tyler, learning the painful lesson that some people's love was conditional. That night, after tucking the children into bed, I sat at the kitchen table with a stack of past due notices and a budget spreadsheet that refused to balance no matter how I manipulated the numbers. The truth was stark. Without reliable transportation, I couldn't maintain my job. Without my job, I couldn't provide for the children. The system designed to keep families like ours afloat was failing us at every turn. I closed my laptop and turned off my phone, too exhausted to face any more bad news. Tomorrow would be another 4:30 wake-up, another day of buses, and transfers, another day of trying to shield Madison and Tyler from the reality that their family had decided they weren't worth the inconvenience. 1 month down. How many more to go? I had picked up an extra shift that day, covering for a coworker who had offered me $20 for the favor. $20 meant a week of bus fare, or a new inhaler for Tyler. The choice was obvious. By the time we got home, all 3 of us were dead on our feet. I made sandwiches for dinner, helped with minimal homework, and tucked the kids in by 8. My phone had been on silent all day, a necessary precaution during client meetings. I was so exhausted I forgot to check it, before collapsing into bed myself, still wearing my work clothes. The next morning, my alarm blared at 4:30 as usual. I reached for my phone to silence it, and saw the notification screen filled to capacity. 77 missed calls, 23 voicemails, 45 text messages. My heart stopped. My first thought was that something had happened to the children, but they were sleeping peacefully in the next room. I scrolled through the calls. They had started at midnight and continued every few minutes until 4 a.m. My parents, Jessica, Mark, even Amanda. The most recent text, sent at 3:58 a.m. from my father, read simply, "We need $3,200 tonight. Family emergency. Call now." My hands trembled as I listened to the first voicemail. My father's voice, urgent but deliberately vague. "Leo, call me back immediately. It's an emergency." My mother, next. Leo, please, we need you. It's about Amanda. Jessica. Why aren't you answering? This is serious. Each message more frantic than the last, but none explaining what had happened or why they suddenly needed thousands of dollars from me. The children would be waking soon. We needed to start our morning routine to make the bus. But this barrage of communication after a month of silence was too bizarre to ignore. I called my father back. He answered on the first ring. Finally, "Where have you been?" he demanded, as if I was the one who had been unreachable. "Sleeping." "It's 4:30 in the morning," I replied, keeping my voice low to avoid waking the kids. "What's going on?" "We need $3,200. Can you transfer it immediately?" No greeting. No explanation. Just a demand for money. "What happened?" I asked. A pause, then Amanda and Kyle got arrested last night. Possession charges. My stomach dropped. "Are they okay?" "They're in county jail. We need to post bail." "How much is bail?" Another pause. $10,000. "We've scraped together most of it, but we're short $3,200. I tried to process this information. After a month of ignoring us completely, my first contact with my family was a middle-of-the-night demand for thousands of dollars I didn't have. "Dad, I don't have that kind of money. You know I've been raising 2 kids on a single income." "You must have something," he insisted. "Retirement savings. Credit cards." "I'm already in debt from taking care of Madison and Tyler," I said. "My car was totaled a month ago, and I've been taking the bus everywhere. I can barely make rent." "This is your sister we're talking about," he said, his voice hardening. "She's facing serious charges. We need to get her out of there." The irony was so thick I could barely breathe. "Dad, when my car was totaled with the kids inside, I texted everyone for help." No one responded. We stood in the rain for hours. A dismissive sound. "That was just a fender bender. This is serious." Madison sprained her wrist. Tyler needed stitches. It wasn't a fender bender. The car was totaled. We had no way home. "Well, you figured it out, didn't you? Amanda might go to prison." I heard movement in the background, then my mother's voice as she apparently grabbed the phone. "Leo, please," she begged, crying. "Your sister needs you. Family sticks together in times like these." The same mother who had ignored texts about her injured grandchildren was now sobbing about family loyalty. "Where was this family unity when we needed help?" I asked quietly. "That was different," she insisted. "We were at a family healing retreat for Amanda. It was a critical time in her recovery. So critical that you couldn't even respond to say you couldn't help." "You've always been the responsible one, Leo," she said neatly, sidestepping my question. "You always figure things out. Amanda is more vulnerable." I heard Jessica's voice in the background. "Tell him he has an obligation to help. Those are his niece and nephew's parents." The same sister who couldn't give Madison a ride from school was now lecturing about my obligations. "Mom," I said slowly, I saw the beach house photos. "You were 45 minutes away from us when the accident happened. You were having drinks on a deck while Madison and Tyler were injured and scared." "We're not discussing that right now," she said sharply. "This is about Amanda's future." "And what about Madison and Tyler's future? What about their present? They've been asking why no one in the family wants to see them. Do you know how that feels to have no answer for them?" "You're being selfish," my father shouted, apparently having taken the phone back. "This is the time to prove you're loyal to this family." His words hung in the air between us. Loyal to the family. The same family that had abandoned us without a second thought. The same family now demanding my non-existent savings to bail out the sister who had abandoned her own children. "I'll call you back," I said finally. "We need an answer now," my father insisted. "The bail hearing is at 9 a.m. "I'll call you back," I repeated, and hung up. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone still in hand, listening to the sounds of the apartment coming to life. Madison's alarm clock playing its cheerful tune. Tyler's sleepy murmurs. The everyday morning noises of the little family we had become. $3,200. More money than I had. Money that even if I had it would go to Amanda and Kyle rather than a car to safely transport their children. Money that would enable the same cycle of addiction and neglect that had brought us to this point. The choice before me wasn't really about money at all. It was about recognizing what family truly meant and what it didn't. I didn't sleep that night. After the kids went to bed, I sat in our small living room scrolling through photos on my phone. Madison losing her first tooth. Tyler's first day of kindergarten. The three of us at the park at the library making pizza in our tiny kitchen. Moments that had defined our unconventional family. I thought about the promise I'd made when I first took custody, that I would provide stability and safety. That they would never again go to bed hungry or wake up afraid. The apartment was quiet except for the occasional car passing outside and the soft breathing from the children's room. In that stillness, clarity finally came. Morning arrived with new purpose. I made chocolate chip pancakes, a special treat usually reserved for weekends. As the kids ate, I sat down across from them. We're going on a different kind of adventure today, I told them. I need to take care of some important grown-up business, and you two are coming with me. No school, Tyler asked, maple syrup dripping down his chin. No school today. I already called and let them know. After breakfast, we dressed in our nicest clothes, Madison in her purple dress with stars, Tyler in his one button-up shirt and clip-on tie. I put on my soul suit, the one reserved for important client meetings. Are we going to a wedding? Madison asked as I helped her with her hair. No, sweetie. We're going to make sure that you and Tyler are safe forever. Our first stop was the bank. I withdrew all $2,300 from my emergency fund money I'd been saving toward a used car. The teller raised an eyebrow at the large withdrawal, but said nothing as I tucked the envelope into my inside jacket pocket. Next, we took the bus across town to an address I'd found online late last night. The office was on the third floor of a modest building, the sign on the door reading Patricia Hernandez, family law attorney. The receptionist smiled at the children, offering them crayons and coloring books while I filled out paperwork. 20 minutes later, we were shown into Attorney Hernandez's office. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Mr. Turner, she greeted me, shaking my hand. And these must be Madison and Tyler. The children nodded shyly. Would you two like to color in the waiting room while I talk to your uncle? She asked. Once they were settled outside with the receptionist, she turned to me. Now tell me how I can help. I explained everything: Amanda and Kyle's addiction, gaining custody 2 years ago, the accident, the family's abandonment, and finally the midnight calls demanding bail money. I need to protect them, I concluded. Their mother was just arrested again. My family is enabling her addiction while ignoring her children. I'm afraid that if something happened to me, they'd go right back into an unsafe environment. Attorney Hernandez listened carefully, taking notes. What you're describing is a case for permanent legal custody, possibly even adoption if termination of parental rights becomes necessary. The immediate concern is formalizing your current arrangement. How much would that cost? I asked, dreading the answer. My retainer for custody cases is $3,200. That covers the initial filing and first round of hearings. The exact amount my father had demanded. The universe had a dark sense of humor. I have $2,300 today, I said, removing the envelope from my jacket. I can get the rest by the end of the month. She considered this, then nodded. I'll accept the $2,300 as an initial retainer. We can work out a payment plan for the balance. As she wrote up the agreement, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. For the first time in 2 years, I was taking proactive steps to secure our future rather than just reacting to the latest crisis. We'll file for emergency temporary orders first, she explained. Given the parents' recent arrest and your established role as caregiver, the court should grant those quickly. The process for permanent custody will take longer, but we have a strong case. I signed the paperwork, handed over the cash, and received a receipt and a folder of information. As we prepared to leave, Attorney Hernandez bent down to the children's level. Your uncle is doing something very brave and important for you, she told them. He's making sure you'll always have a safe home. On the bus ride home, I composed a text message to my parents and siblings. I've made my decision about the money. Today, I paid a retainer to a family law attorney to secure permanent legal custody of Madison and Tyler. I'm creating the stability and safety that Amanda cannot provide. This is what real family responsibility looks like. I attached a photo of the receipt, then put my phone away. The children, tired from our excursion, didn't ask questions about where we'd been. They simply trusted that I was taking care of things as I had for 2 years. At home, I made them lunch, then surprised them with small gifts I'd picked up from a dollar store near the attorney's office. A coloring book for Madison, a toy car for Tyler. Nothing extravagant, just tokens to mark a significant day they didn't yet understand. "Are we going to be okay?" Madison asked as she flipped through her new book. I looked at her directly, my voice steadier than it had been in weeks. "Yes, we are absolutely going to be okay." By late afternoon, my phone was ringing constantly. I silenced it without checking the caller ID. Whatever crisis my family was experiencing paled in comparison to the importance of giving these children dinner, helping with the homework they'd missed, and reading them their favorite bedtime stories. Just as I was tucking them in, a pounding on the apartment door startled us all. Tyler's eyes went wide with fear. "It's okay," I assured him. "Stay here with your sister. I'll be right back." Outside my door stood my parents, Jessica, and to my surprise, Mark, who must have flown in from across the country. Their expressions ranged from fury to disbelief. "How could you?" my mother began, before I could even speak. "Your own sister. You betrayed the family," my father added. "After everything we've done for you." I remained in the doorway, not inviting them in. "Everything you've done for me," I repeated quietly. "Like abandoning us after a car accident. Like ignoring texts about your injured grandchildren." "We've explained that already," Jessica interjected. "We were at a critical family retreat." "Yes, you've made it very clear who you consider family," I said. "And it doesn't include Madison and Tyler, does it?" "That's not fair," my mother protested. "We love those children." "Love requires action," I replied. "It requires showing up. None of you have done that." My father stepped forward, his voice lowered threateningly. "You will withdraw this custody nonsense and give us that money for Amanda's bail. Right now." For the first time in my adult life, I stood my ground against him. "Number, I won't." "Then you're no longer part of this family," he declared. I felt a calm certainty settle over me. I already have a family. They're asleep in the next room, and they deserve better than what you've offered them. Leo Madison's small voice came from behind me. She stood in the hallway in her pajamas, Tyler half hidden behind her. "Is everything okay?" I turned to her with a reassuring smile. "Everything's fine, sweetheart. Our relatives were just leaving." I closed the door on my parents' protests and led the children back to bed. As I tucked them in for the second time, Madison looked up at me. "They're mad because you're helping us instead of Mom, aren't they?" How did she understand so much? "Sometimes adults make choices about who needs their help most," I explained. "I chose you and Tyler. I will always choose you and Tyler." She nodded, seemingly satisfied with this answer. "Good, because we choose you too." In that moment, I knew without a doubt that I had made the right decision. The family waiting outside my door might share my blood, but the real family, the one worth fighting for, was right here in this room. 3 months passed, bringing changes both small and significant. Our apartment had new touches, curtains instead of the old sheets I'd hung when we first moved in, a bookshelf built from crates that Madison had painted herself, a proper desk for homework instead of the kitchen table. The biggest change sat in the parking lot, a used Honda 8 years old, with moderate mileage, purchased through a workplace loan program Barbara had helped me discover. It wasn't fancy, but it was safe, reliable, and ours. The temporary custody order had become permanent last month. Attorney Hernandez had presented a compelling case about Amanda's continued instability and my established role as the children's caregiver. The judge had been particularly moved by school reports, showing the children's improved attendance and performance since I'd obtained transportation. Madison had been selected for the school's advanced reading program. Tyler's kindergarten teacher reported that his separation anxiety had decreased significantly. Small victories that felt monumental after everything we'd been through. My professional life had stabilized as well. With reliable transportation, I arrived at work on time, completed assignments efficiently, and had even earned a modest promotion. The increased income wasn't life-changing, but it meant new winter coats for the kids and occasional pizza nights without financial stress. More important than the material improvements was the new support system we'd built. Our neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, now watched the children if I had evening client meetings. Tyler had playdates with his classmate Jaden, whose mother offered to include him in their weekend activities. Madison had joined a Girl Scout troop where the leader, a single mother herself, had become someone I could call for advice. We had created a chosen family to replace the one that had failed us. My parents had made one attempt at reconciliation. They appeared at our door 2 weeks after the custody hearing, bearing gifts for the children and awkward apologies. I allowed a brief visit but maintained clear boundaries. They could be grandparents to Madison and Tyler, but they had lost the right to my unconditional trust. We were wrong, my mother admitted, as they prepared to leave. We got so caught up in trying to save Amanda that we couldn't see what was right in front of us. The children deserved better, I replied simply. They still do. Madison's 8th birthday arrived in early spring. Instead of the traditional family celebration, we hosted a party with her school friends, Mrs. Rodriguez, Carl, the bus driver who had shown us kindness, and Darlene from the diner who had given us shelter after the accident. The apartment overflowed with laughter and genuine warmth. Small packages arrived from my parents that morning, appropriate gifts with thoughtful cards. I placed them on the gift table without comment. Madison opened them along with her other presents, her reaction politely pleased rather than excited. Even at 8, she understood the complicated nature of those relationships. Amanda's situation had resolved predictably. After 30 days in jail, she had been sentenced to a court-mandated rehabilitation program. According to my mother, she was doing well this time, the same phrase I'd heard before each previous relapse. Kyle had received a longer sentence due to prior convictions. I sent Amanda photos of the children monthly, but made no promises about visits, until she demonstrated at least 6 months of sobriety. It was a boundary that Attorney Hernandez had helped me establish, one that prioritized the children's emotional well-being over adult desires. One Tuesday afternoon, I received an unexpected letter at work. The return address was Sonny's Diner. Inside was a note from Darlene, the waitress who had given us hot chocolate and pie on the day of the accident. "I hope you don't mind me tracking down your business address," she wrote. "I've thought about you and those sweet children often. My own family abandoned me years ago when my husband died, leaving me to raise 3 kids alone. Seeing how you protected those little ones reminded me that family is what we make it, not just what we're born into. If you ever need anything, you know where to find me." Her simple kindness brought tears to my eyes. In the darkest moment of our lives, when blood relatives had turned away, this stranger had offered comfort without hesitation. That weekend, we returned to Sonny's Diner for breakfast. Darlene's face lit up when she saw us walk in. She hugged the children and refused to let me pay for our meal. We made plans to meet again the following weekend. Another thread in the new tapestry of connections we were weaving. On the way home, we stopped at a bus stop to wait for Mrs. Rodriguez, who had called with a flat tire. While there, I noticed a woman with 2 small children looking anxiously at her phone. "The next bus isn't for 45 minutes, she said when I approached. My car broke down and we're trying to get to my mother's house. Without hesitation, I offered them a ride. As Madison helped the younger child buckle his seatbelt, I caught her eye in the rearview mirror. The pride in her expression told me she understood exactly what we were doing, breaking the cycle, paying forward the kindness we had received, becoming the people we had needed 3 months ago. That night, as I prepared Thanksgiving invitations for our chosen family, Mrs. Rodriguez, Darlene, the parents of the children's friends Carl and his wife Madison, asked a surprising question. "Should we invite Grandma and Grandpa too?" I considered this carefully. "Do you want them to come?" She thought for a moment. "Not really. I like our new friends better. They show up. Out of the mouths of children comes the simplest wisdom. Then we'll celebrate with the people who show up," I agreed. As I tucked them into bed that night, I reflected on everything we had lost and gained. We had lost the illusion of a supportive extended family, but gained an authentic community built on genuine care rather than obligation. We had lost financial security, but gained resilience and resourcefulness. We had lost relationships tied by blood, but gained connections bound by choice and action. In the face of abandonment, we had built something stronger than what we had lost. The next morning, as I drove the children to school, in our modest but reliable car, Tyler asked from the back seat, "Are we a real family, Uncle Leo? Even though it's just us." I met his eyes in the rearview mirror. "We are absolutely a real family. Sometimes the strongest families are the ones we build ourselves." Madison nodded sagely. "Like our car. It's not the fanciest one, but it gets us where we need to go." Out of all the wisdom I had tried to impart, this was what had stuck, that reliability matters more than perfection, that showing up is what counts, that family is defined by consistent presence, not convenient support. What about you? Has someone ever abandoned you when you needed them most? Or have you found that sometimes the family we choose is stronger than the one we're born into? Let me know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who might need to hear that family is defined by actions, not just blood. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, sometimes the strongest bonds are forged in the moments when we have to rebuild from betrayal.